Well, hello, hello. We are live once again in Spain. Thursday, the 8th of January today. We went live a couple of days ago. It was really fun. We looked at a different report than normal. We looked at the initial balance breakup report, which is what you see on the screen in a moment. We're going to have a look at that again today. But before we do that, make sure you do subscribe. What's really annoying is I'm running off of one laptop, so I'm going to have to keep going back and checking if there's any chats and making sure it's actually working, which so far it seems to be going quite, it's going, it's good. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to me on YouTube if you haven't already, Sean Trades underscore. And obviously follow me on X for more streams like this. And of course, if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments. What I'll do is I'll just do the kind of standard admin for what we've got, and then we'll jump into the Edgeful platform, because there's some interesting things I think happening today. We've started the day quite well. You can see on the screen we've obviously got data for a single break. What's going on here? Right, let me just do the kind of standard bits here. Just do a comment there, so you can go ahead and get the details of the Edgeful platform down below in the comments on X, and of course it's already in the description if you're watching on YouTube. Right, let's go ahead and get into the stream. But I hope we're all well. Hope we're doing quite profitable today. It's Thursday, so we've got another day of the market left. Wrong tab. There we go. We've got one more day of the market left, obviously being tomorrow. So today, obviously, we've had the first hour form. So the initial balance breakout indicator. We'll start with that. This is the kind of the green square that we have here on the screen. If we tap down on the top left-hand side here, you'll be able to see the indicators that are currently live. Initial balance breakout we've got here, so I can just toggle that on and off, as you can see. And of course, the previous day's range, which I find quite helpful. We can see yesterday, previous day's range, yesterday's low, which is the red line coming through the screen there. It's been tapped quite a few times overnight. Obviously, this is the futures of SPY, so you can see a couple of touches over here. They're not that meaningful over here, but resistance at this point as well, and of course many points in the last couple of hours. Looks like we've just come back down and retested that in a positive way, or as support, should I say. So it'd be interesting to see if we can get that break up higher of the initial balance breakout report. Now, what we're looking for is obviously, given the momentum and where the market's heading in the last 8 hours, 9 hours, something like that, we can see price action is generally kind of going up in the opposite direction. So what we're looking for is a break to the upside, essentially, out of this white line here. So we're going to jump into the Edgeful platform. I am going to quickly take off this caption, so it's a little bit clearer for you. I'll stick this one on there temporarily, but it's obviously the details you can find Edgeful. But as I mentioned before, it's in the description down below, and obviously in the comments for the X stream as well, which I never really know how to say that, but it's a stream on X. What do you want? Right, okay. So the Edgeful platform then, this is the initial balance breakout report, and how to do that is we'll just go back to the Edgeful main page. It's not how you do that. Press home. On the home page, you'll obviously get all of the walkthroughs, which they only take probably about an hour and 50 minutes, something like that, on the advanced plan, but even less time on the essential walkthrough. But I think for the extra few minutes, essentially, the advanced walkthrough is definitely the best way to go. Plenty of fantastic information there, how to use certain sessions, of course, how to use the Edgeful algos if you're into that kind of thing. And obviously, looking at Edgeful daily as well, which I kind of do more often than not, but obviously more towards, because I'm in Spain and I'm on holiday at the moment. I've been able to do a little bit more Edgeful during the day, which has been quite exciting. But normally I use Edgeful at night with the Power Hour breakout report and the Power Hour continuation report, which you will see next week when I go live. Probably, I don't know when yet, but stay tuned on X. But it'll probably be like Monday or Wednesday, something like that. Right, okay, let's go to the reports down here on the left. You can actually toggle these two arrows out, and it gives you the details of what's down on the sidebar there. So reports, we'll close that for now. You can choose the asset, you can go to stock and then SPY. Alternatively, you can just click on the watch list here. You can just go to SPY and it brings it straight up. And then we're going to go ahead and go to our bookmarks over here and tap on the initial balance breakout report. The internet is actually really good here, but for some reason Edgepool platforms are taking a bit longer to load today. I've got like 500 megabytes or something, megabytes per second download speed. Right, okay, so here we've got on the screen, and this is where the fun kind of comes in. With the Edgepool platform, we can kind of play with these options down here on the left, which we're going to do today in a bit more detail than we did the other day. So straight off the bat, we can see the details here on the screen. Hopefully you can see that. Pretty sure you can. We're going to go with yes. You can see obviously there's a 71% chance that there's a single break. So 71%, keep that in mind. And of course, you've got a 27% chance of a double break and a 1.5% chance of a no break. So no break is no price action breaking out of either the downside here or the upside here. That is a no break. A one break is obviously either to the upside or either to the downside. And then a double break, which is the 27% one, I think it was. Yeah, it's 27% on the screen there. That is where it goes up above and down below, or down below and up above. So either or, essentially. So what we're going to do is obviously use kind of general technical analysis. It's hard to trade in the first hour, which is why I kind of let this mature for about 15 minutes or so before I actually kind of think about getting into a trade. But yeah, we're going to just do basic technical analysis around that sort of thing, depending on what kind of time frame you want to use. So for example, the 10-hour chart, the 10-minute chart here. If we drew a trend line from just a few hours ago, you can see the trend line is still there, kind of intact. We're kind of coming back down to retest it and retest this trend line with this kind of dramatic price action we've got now in the last 7 minutes. I'm just going to see if there's any news on what's going on at the moment. What time is it? 4:30. Natural gas. US wholesale sales, that was a little while ago. Continuous job claims. When was this? That must have been, yeah, that was today. Sometimes I look at this app and I think it's not the right times, but it actually is, being elsewhere for once. Yeah, no, we've got a bit of negative price action here, so we could actually get a break to the downside at this rate. But we're not entering any trades just yet. So I would be looking actually for a bit of support here. This is a 5-minute chart because we're at the bottom of the moving average cloud here, and obviously the trend lines we've just kind of drawn on the 10-minute chart. We'd be looking for support here. And also we've got these retracement lines for the initial balance breakout indicator. So you can see this line here, which is 25%, 50% kind of coming through here, and the 70% line. So we've just touched that 50% line. So there is a little bit of support there. I'm not too sure if it means a huge amount, but I think it's more of just a kind of guide of where that price action will retrace to. As I say, with the momentum that we've got, I would look for a break above the initial balance breakout here. And very simply, what we would do with that, I mean, you could enter here potentially and have a stop loss down below the trend line, but I'm just going to wait for 10 minutes or so to see how it matures. But alternatively, you could just enter on the break, make sure the candle closes above that in terms of power wise, and then go for the first green line here, which essentially is, if we draw a square or rectangle, whatever you want to call it, obviously you can see this is the first hour's trading price action, the volume, the amount it's done, and then we just drag that up. It's the same distance as you can see there. So you can see how that kind of populates throughout the day. It's different for every single day as well, which is really, really interesting. So you can kind of get different data every day. You can see yesterday, it's quite similar actually yesterday, to be fair. The sun is coming out now. The day before was quite a lot bigger. That's where we placed that trade somewhere here. That was really nice. The day before that, a little bit tighter. So you can see every day is a little bit different, which is I think is really key. Because you want the data to kind of go in your favor on the day rather than just general data from day to day. So what we're going to do now is play with the left side options on Edgepool. Just want to check the stream is still going. I think so. Yeah, I think so. Zoom out of that. So we've got our initial balance breakout data here, as you can see, 71%, 27%, fantastic. We're going to tap on the left side here, choose sub-report. You can see at the moment it's stuck on standard. We're going to go down to a weekday. And what this does, it gives you the data. Refresh the page. Okay. I don't know what's going on here. Well, hopefully that didn't disrupt the stream too much. I think I just lost a connection temporarily, but we seem to be still be going, which is good. And the sun is really out now. Fantastic. Yeah, so what we've got here is obviously the initial balance breakout report, and we've got to move down to the bi-weekday report, sub-report, should I say, and that basically singles out all the Thursdays in the last 6 months. And you can see the data changes slightly. It's gone from 70-something percent to 82%. So the likelihood it's just going to be a single break today is 82%. And if we get that break above this line, that's 82% confirmed. It looks like we're getting a bit of strength here, so we could actually see that in the next couple of minutes, just like that. Now, how to trade this is very tricky. I don't have a lot of experience in trading this report, but I have a lot of experience in kind of understanding it, just because normally I'm working at this sort of time of day. So yeah. But yesterday, was it yesterday, day before? Day before, on Tuesday, we entered a trade based on technical analysis somewhere down here. And we took a trade to the upside and then obviously followed it up throughout the whole day. Towards the end of the trade, I actually used a power hour breakout report to kind of go against, when to take it off the table. Plus, I was heading out for dinner, so I took it off the table just for a bit of peace of mind, which I think is quite a good tip for trading in general. If you're kind of going out or something like that, where you're busy for the next few hours, just take that trade off the table, and then don't get annoyed of how far it went up afterwards. Anyway, let's move on to the next part of the initial balance breakout report, which is obviously we've got our numbers here, 82.17, but you might think that there's 23 days of data here, just there. 23 days of data from the last 6 months. There's been 23 Thursdays, but you might want more, which is fair enough. You might want more data, so maybe we can go over here on the left side of the screen and choose the date range and select 1 year. And what that'll do is obviously change the report in such a way that the data will be bigger. So now we've got 47 Thursdays that we've covered here. And you can see there's still a 72% chance in the last year, every Thursday, there's only been a single break. Of course, these do occur, there's 25%, but you can see that there's no break. There's a 2% chance it stays within this box here on the day. Obviously, price action will finish. Is this Spanish time? I think it is. So the price action will finish here. So we've still got a long way to go. And potentially, if we do break this to the upside, we will be aiming for these, further green lines, even yesterday's previous high, which I think is a bit excessive. But if we got in on the break of the initial balance breakout report, we can have a stop loss somewhere down below here, because you will see a moving average, as you can see there. Moving average cloud, and then obviously you can just raise the stop loss up behind it as the trade matures throughout the day, if that was to happen. Yeah, I think I've covered that quite well. So I'm guessing now we're going to look for an entry. Why not? We're halfway through the stream. Let's have a look for an entry, shall we? We've got our data here on the screen. We'll go back to the 6 months here on the left. Is that 6 months? Yes, it is. It's already changed. Fantastic. And then what we'll do is we'll go back to the chart and see what we can get in terms of an entry. I like this candle here that we've set. Nice big hammer candle on the 5 minute. We're going to be closing this candle in 30 seconds or so. If we get a close above here, that's really bullish. I would potentially take that straight away. It's a bit risky, of course, but if you've got a fair stop loss down here, that's not too much of a problem, in my opinion, because I don't take too much size, especially when I'm out and about on holiday, etc. Yeah, so we're not going to set that, I think, up here, at least not on this candle. There's actually a little bit of a mini bull flag here on the 5 minute chart. because obviously we've had price action come up. We'll get rid of that for now. We don't need that on the screen. Like a little bit of a mini ball flag here on the screen here. So if we get a bit of a break to the upside, that could be another good kind of entry point as well. Depending on what your entry and execution is like with trades, then that's it's obviously up to you. Typically, you wait for the candle to close, but with a smaller sort of indication like this, you could pop down to the 2-minute chart or 3-minute chart, or even the 1-minute chart. But I don't really trade on the 1-minute chart; it's just not really for me. But some people, might take an entry somewhere around about here if we were to move up higher. But for now, my patience, my discipline belongs on the 5-minute chart, so I will wait for that break potentially. But yeah, as I say, you can get the details of the Edgeworld platform. It's not just the initial balance breakout report, which is what we're using today. You've got also the opening range breakout report, which is the same. It's very similar to the initial balance breakout report, but it's in the first 15 minutes rather than the first hour. And then, of course, the ones that I normally use, which is the power hour breakout report, which is what I use all the time. It won't be active now, obviously, until the last hour. I've made a lot of money on this particular report, and I really enjoy it. It works with my lifestyle as well. Obviously, coming back 6 p.m. from work in the UK, my last hour starts at 8 p.m. So it gives me a bit of chance to kind of come home, wash, eat dinner, whatever, and then jump on the laptop or the computer and just have a little bit of a trading session, which of course you can join me for next week a couple of times and beyond. So power hour continuation is the other report that I sometimes use. I always get really confused with this report. It's just me personally, but it works in 2 different ways, you see. So this down here on the left, you've got 2 sub-reports. You've got bi-week, no, that one, customized, here we go, by session and by power hour. So we'll jump into that next week, I think. I think it'd be a bit too much information today if we clicked on multiple reports. But for today, obviously, we're looking at the initial balance breakout report, which will eventually load. We'll load the weekday side of things. So Thursday is selected, last 6 months is selected. The 82% is still standing here. Negative price action coming down. This is very hard to kind of get through at the moment. So the break actually might occur to the downside depending how well this holds up or doesn't hold up, should we say. So yeah, still patience needed, which is why you don't enter at these levels. So it's a good job we were patient. We didn't jump into trade there because we probably would be out of that trade because my stop loss was down here somewhere, or hypothetical stop loss was there. Okay, back on the chart. While we're waiting for this, we can just zoom out into different time frames. So have a look at what's going on in the bigger time frames. Obviously, we've got the 10-minute here, which is looking pretty good because this is the moving average cloud kind of coming through the screen here. Coming back down to kind of retest that, and as you can see, the cloud is getting smaller in this sort of area. So generally, that does mean it kind of switches around direction-wise. Not all the time, but sometimes it does. Let's go up to the 15-minute, see what's going on there. Similar sort of thing, cloud is kind of turning through. And all that is really is if you imagine moving averages, I think I've still got them on the screen here. If you had the moving averages on the screen, all it is just that price action, but a bit more visually appealing for me at least. A bit more subtle, some might say. So the 15-minute looking pretty good. 30-minute looks like it's kind of struggling to get through that. I'm guessing the hourly would be even worse. Yeah, the hourly is struggling to get through that moving average there. At least on the smaller time frames, doesn't look too bad. Let's have a look at what's going on elsewhere. Amazon up 1%, Barber up 5%. It's a pretty good move. And Nvidia down. This might be why you see this price action here on the screen. Apple down a little bit, Google up, Meta down a touch, Microsoft down a touch, and Tesla actually green on the day, which is interesting. We'll jump into another watch list here, which is the stocks I'm holding. We'll order it by price action. Barber up, obviously the highest. We've just mentioned that. The lowest being Grab. It's a bit of a mixed day. Yeah, some red, some green, kind of half and half. But we are still what, an hour and a half into the session, so still plenty of price action to be had today for sure. I mean, a lot of people, they wait a couple of hours for price action to kind of mature. Now, what you could do, you could actually kind of, I'm not going to because it's not really in my playbook, but you could kind of get into sort of this area because we're at that 5-minute cloud, that sort of area. So you can kind of see there's lots of support below us. But I think once, if that was to break to the downside, I think we might see a bit of an aggressive break for sure. Let's go back out to the hour chart and see if we can draw some levels on the screen here. For now, we'll get rid of that indicator. And we'll get rid of the previous day's high there. So we'll just do some basic kind of support and resistance. And also I like to use the volume profile. You can actually see on the screen, if you zoom out as well, this is what, the last 3 weeks worth of price action pretty much. There's lots of volume at this level, which is why we saw that reaction just a few hours ago. But you like to think if that breaks to the downside, the next sort of level will be down here. So let's go ahead and punch that in. Like so, and we'll color that red. And this is just very basic technical analysis. Supports and resistance. And you can see the touch points up above here. 1, 2, 3, and again a support here. We did blow through it a couple of days ago, but that's okay. We'll color that green for now. Of course, all-time highs are up here. Color that yellow. So sometimes it's worth just kind of zooming out on the bigger scales to see what's kind of going on. Again, you've probably got another line here due to not so much this sort of area, but support, support, support. Broke down below, come up, resistance, resistance twice again, blew through, come back down, support. Obviously, subsequently kind of did its thing, and then come back down and support in the last, well, kind of early hours of this morning. So that's another sort of point to be made there. I might color that white, so we've got a bit of a, weirdly, a bit of Italian thing going on. But we'll jump back down into the 5-minute before we enter the kind of closing period of this live stream. So we've got a lot of buys at this point last time. Just wonder if we'll get them back in again now. Again, I'm not looking to take a trade here. I'm looking to take a trade on the break of the initial balance breakout report, because there is an 82% chance with the Edge4 platform here. There's an 82% chance it just has a single break. We're just waiting to see which one that will be, either to the upside or to the downside. If it's to the downside, I probably won't trade it because obviously I'm a bit busier today, but I wanted to try and get into it in the next kind of 20 minutes or so. Likewise, if I do get into a trade, I will post the results as normal on X, as I did yesterday, I think, which went well. It was a really good trade, actually, a couple of days ago. A comment here, has anyone looked into the China play into EFTEL or EH? EH, is that EHung? I think I've seen them before. Let's have a look at them while we're on the stream. Why not? It is, yeah. So that, I completely forgot about this stock until you just mentioned that. Yeah, I mean, it would obviously require a bit more digging into, of course. Broken a pretty big trend line now on a weekly chart. Down here. So yeah, it's not ideal. Anyway, let's go back to what we were doing before. So we are getting that break to the downside. We're going to have to see some buyers coming pretty soon, but that is a close below the trend line. But of course, the trend line is not perfect because it goes through all of these candles actually. But none of these candles are a clean break, which is why I've drawn it there. Now, of course, you could get into this potentially, and then, you know, we're at the 50% mark to the upside and have a stop loss all the way down here. But that's a pretty big stop loss to have on the daily, on a daily time frame, not daily time frame. You know, what am I trying to say? Day trading sort of thing. So that's what, a 0.2% loss if you were to do that. Not out of the question, of course. You know, you could definitely do it, but not what I'm looking for today, which is a bit of a shame. How's that 10-minute cloud looking? Yeah, looking pretty weak, but very much intact. Very much intact. We would need to get some buyers to probably come up here in the next 20, 30 minutes or so, this sort of area. Let's go ahead and draw a circle for that. That sort of area there. We need to get through that in the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If not, we could see a pretty aggressive selling day, to be honest. Well, maybe not a day, but a moment of sorts. So let's go back to the Edgewell platform. Let's have a look at the watch list. I normally do this every stream. Makes a lot of sense, I think, because it just allows you to kind of navigate the platform a lot quicker, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and take off a couple of these. Snap, Masterworks, Palantir. So this is the watch list section. If you open up here on the left, you've obviously got the tabs. Tap on watch list, the screen will come up. And then you can pop in whatever tickers you want. So Palantir is obviously what I don't really trade it that often, but I can do sometimes. Obviously, Palantir will kind of come up on the screen, and you just tap the X button there, or cross button, I suppose. What that does is it adds it to. At least I thought it was going to add that. There we go. Didn't press it properly. It adds it to the list here on your watch list, and then down here in the bottom right-hand corner, which you may not be able to see because I might be in the way. Hopefully, that's done it enough so you can kind of see. So then what that allows you to do, so for example, me in the evenings, I go to power hour breakout. I do all my bits on the left here. I select weekday, and then I just tap through the whole watch list to see what's looking good, just like this. And I can do that probably about 10 minutes before power hour, and then I know I've got kind of a good feeling of kind of which stocks I'm looking at, depending on the price action, because the price action would have to be obviously near the lows of the day or near the highs of the day, subsequently, of course. Oops. But yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything today. Here we go. Look, the buyers have come in, as we mentioned. So we might just actually get that break to the upside, which is what we're looking for on the stream here today. I'm running out of time though in the next couple of minutes, but we'll hang on to see what this candle does. We've got what, 1 minute and 10 seconds left of this candle. Let's see what it can do. I wanted it to get above this level in the next 10, well, from this candle in the next 10 to 20 minutes, so probably nowish. So that would be really nice to see. Really strong candle coming through here, taking out the last half an hour's worth of price action. If we get a close above this, then that's a good entry point in my opinion. And then you obviously have a very clear stop loss down below the latest candle. I think that's probably the best way to do that. I'll get up my trading platform just in case this does happen. Have my finger on the trigger. Going to select the right size. Make sure you select the right size because I've done that quite a few times, and it's not gone well. Very much in the past, not so much now. But every now and then you enter another 1 or another 0, and it's not so good. 5 seconds left of this candle. which is a bit irritating. So I had to wait another 5 minutes for the next candle to break. But that's a lovely candle. You could get in here, but there's a lot of resistance at this level, so it's not for me. You can see the price action there, kind of rejecting. Of course, this could come straight back down, which is why we wait for the best entries possible, for sure. See if we've got any questions while we're waiting. Nope, nada. I understand, obviously, it is a key time for Americans at the moment, 10 a.m. Or 11 a.m. now, I guess. You'll be working. Makes sense. Yeah. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. Let's get up our potential trade that we've got. So we want to get in, somewhere around this sort of level, and we're aiming for here. Actually, we're going to aim for this sort of area, but we're taking some profits off at this level. And then the stop loss will, of course, be below this candle for now. We want to raise that up as soon as possible, really. But the reason we've got this green line here, which is if you've just joined us in the last 5 minutes or so, you wouldn't have seen me do that. But it's just lots of touch points on the hourly chart here, as you can see. So it's very, very simple resistance point we're looking for. And the one above that, actually, you can see there's a volume profile, quite a nice shelf here on the right side, but you've got today's line is just there. So could, in fact, bring that down to there, just to be a little bit extra safe. But what we want in the next 3 minutes or so, I'll hang on to the end of this candle, see what it does, and then either enter a trade, not enter a trade for now, and then I'll go about my business for the rest of the day. It's been fun, actually, streaming on holiday. Been fun. Given this sort of price action here, obviously we've got lots of resistance at this level, which we're seeing now. All it does, it turns it into stronger support. So if we do get a break and we see something like this, we've got a bit of a break and we go up a little bit, come back down and we test this area, we would like to think this area would be nice and strong, lots of support at this level. And then obviously hopefully we can make another move higher up towards the kind of target price up here. Not the best drawing I've ever done, but one that hopefully makes sense. I'll leave it on the screen for now, why not? I believe it's called Art. Right. As I mentioned before, obviously using the Edgeful platform is why I'm thinking about the trade. I wouldn't be thinking about this trade otherwise, because obviously the data that's provided for us here gives us the edge within the market, so to speak, given the name, of course. But if you're interested, obviously there's a link down below in the YouTube, and I have added it as a comment on X. Let's go ahead and get that up on the screen while we're here waiting for the candle to end. There we go. We'll end with that on the screen, shall we? So we've got another 1 minute until this candle closes, and we'll see how that ends. Let's see how it kind of matures for the rest of the day. That last 5 minutes was absolutely incredible. Let's see if there's any news on that. Might just be just general price action. The thing I use for news is Financial Juice. Really easy, really quick to kind of get the news that you want. No, nothing been said in the last, or nothing big anyway, in the last 3-4 minutes. Okay, 40 seconds. Hopefully we can get this break of the candle, and then we'll enter a trade for the day and then go from there. As I mentioned before, if the trade is, well, if I enter the trade, I'll let you know how it goes. See if we get stopped out at some point, because I like to raise my stop losses as we go through the trade. And of course, likewise, if it hits target profit zones, then I'll notify you on X either tonight or tomorrow, most likely tomorrow. Very much latest on Saturday, because I'm traveling tomorrow back to the UK. What, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2, 1. Yeah, okay. So we're not going to get a break to the upside with this candle. So we'll hold on to that for a second. But for now, it's been a pleasure doing the stream with you today. Any questions, let me know, as I mentioned. But yeah, make sure you trade safe. Take care, everyone.